Forget biting the head off of a bat. Did Ozzy really once try to kill his own wife? The 80s were all about excess, and these rock stars did, or almost did, the unthinkable. If any one band embodied the menacing meets sleazy party rock scene of the 1980s, it's Motley Crue. They were the toast of the LA glam metal world, and sold millions of albums worth of its proud tales of debauchery, relationships, and partying, with memorable songs like Kickstart My Heart, Shout at the Devil, and Dr. Feelgood. In 1997, Motley Crue hit the road for its comeback Generation Swine tour, and at the end of a show at America West Arena in Phoenix, invited the audience to storm the stage. Fearing a destructive riot, security guards tried to hold back the crowd, but Nikki, Sixx, and Tommy Lee didn't like that, so they allegedly kicked, pushed, and spat on guard Kenneth Lee Chambers. Hundreds of fans made it onto the stage and caused extensive property damage.
I have never seen an incident escalate like it did last night.
According to the Los Angeles Times, Lee's sentence consisted of an $800 fine and 30 days in jail, which, thanks to a plea bargain, he served as part of the 6-month sentence he was already serving at the time over an act of domestic violence involving his former wife, Pamela Anderson. According to the Greensboro News and Record, Sixx pleaded no contest, was convicted of assault and inciting a riot, and received a 30-day suspended sentence and probation. A big part of why Motley Crue caused a sensation in the early 1980s was its frontman, Vince Neil. He was arguably the quintessential poster boy of hair metal, with his flowing bleach blonde locks and photogenic looks. According to Ultimate Classic Rock, Neil was in the midst of a days-long party at a house in Redondo Beach, California, when, on the evening of December 8, 1984, he got in his car to go buy more alcohol. Already intoxicated, he brought along Nicholas Dingley, aka Razzle, drummer for the band Hanoi Rocks. At one point, Neil lost control of the vehicle and smashed into a Volkswagen. The occupants of that car, Daniel Smithers and Lisa Hogan, suffered injuries, while Dingley was pronounced dead upon arrival at a nearby hospital. According to the Los Angeles Times, Neil was arrested that evening and was found to have a blood alcohol level of 0.17%, well above California's then legal designation of intoxication of 0.10%. In September 1985, a court made Neil pay $2.6 million in restitution to Smithers, Hogan, and Dingley's family. That was part of a deal. Neil agreed to enter a guilty plea on charges of drunk driving and vehicular manslaughter. He was also ordered to serve 200 hours of community service, 5 years of probation, and 30 days in jail. Guns N' Roses ruled rock in the late 1980s. Their era-defining Appetite for Destruction is the best-selling first album in history. The band remained massive into the 90s, with frontman Axl Rose one of the most famous people on the planet. According to UPI, Rose got angry at a 1991 concert at Riverport Amphitheater near St. Louis when he spotted a fan with a camera, which he'd assumed guards had confiscated. Rose then dove into the crowd to grab the camera and remained so mad that he and the rest of Guns N' Roses left the stage, prematurely ending the concert. That, in turn, incensed the crowd, who rioted. Authorities say that about 3,000 fans participated, which led to $200,000 worth of property damage and 60 injuries. Rose was arrested for inciting a riot and was found guilty of assault and causing property damage.
Basically spent my time writing autographs for cops and talking with them about rock and roll.
Ultimately, he was sentenced to 2 years probation and made to donate $50,000 to charity. Ozzy Osbourne is one of rock's most legendary, longest-lasting, and controversial figures. He helped popularize metal in the 1970s as the lead singer of Black Sabbath before embarking on a very successful solo career in the 1980s, recording hard-charging anthems like Crazy Train and Bark at the Moon. All the while, the singer struggled mightily with substance abuse issues. Osbourne's popular 2000s reality show, The Osbournes, depicted him in a calm and stable marriage with his wife Sharon, a long way removed from the night in 1989 when the self-proclaimed Prince of Darkness tried to kill his spouse.
It's ridiculous.
As Sharon detailed in the documentary The 9 Lives of Ozzy Osbourne, Ozzy approached his wife in a dark and disoriented state one evening after she put their children to bed. She recalled,
I just couldn't get through to him. And he just said, we've come to a decision that you've got to die.
Assuming he was under the influence of drugs, she recalled her husband then dove on her and tried to choke her on the ground. Luckily, Sharon had a panic button device nearby and activated it, which summoned police and ended the attack. Ozzy Osbourne was arrested for attempted murder, a charge that went away after the rock star entered a 6-month rehabilitation program. Rick James was an innovative musician, blending the catchiest elements of funk and rock and roll to create a whole new kind of music, which can be heard on enduring party starters like Super Freak and Give It To Me Baby. After his creative peak in the 80s, James got more attention in the 90s for his legal problems. According to the Los Angeles Times, in 1991, James and his girlfriend, Tanya Hijazi, were arrested and charged with false imprisonment, assault with a deadly weapon, sexual assault, making terrorist threats, and furnishing drugs. According to police, James and Hijazi met a woman at a party and invited her to stay at their home. Soon after she arrived, James allegedly brandished a gun and threatened to kill the woman if she tried to leave. Then, according to reports, James and Hijazi physically restrained the woman and burned her with a hot crack cocaine pipe around 20 times and forced her to perform sexual acts and smoke crack cocaine against her will. Upon release, the victim sought hospitalization, where medical staff called police. Free after posting bail and awaiting trial, James and Hijazi were arrested again in 1992 after a woman accused the couple of physically assaulting her in a West Hollywood hotel room. Acquitted on a torture charge from the first incident, James earned a 2-year prison sentence for the assaults, according to Billboard. In December 1989, Skid Row brought its brand of heavy hair metal to the Springfield Civic Center in Massachusetts. According to Mass Live, somebody in the crowd threw a drinking vessel at lead singer Sebastian Bach, although reports vary over whether it was a cup or a glass bottle. Bach retaliated by forcefully throwing a bottle into the crowd, where it struck 17-year-old Elizabeth Myers, breaking her nose. Bach wasn't done. He jumped into the stands and kicked a man in the face in the process. After the show, police arrested Bach and charged him with 2 counts of assault and battery and 1 count of mayhem. Following a plea agreement, Bach received 2 years probation, had to pay a $16,000 fine, and worked out a payout with one of the victims. According to the Hartford Courant, it amounted to about $500,000. Hard rock in the 1980s was all about shredding, who could play guitar the fastest and with the most dexterity. Ranking up there with the likes of well-known America-launched Eddie Van Halen and Stevie Ray Vaughan was Swedish guitarist Yngwie Malmsteen, who played his instrument with the speed and energy of a classical pianist while fronting 80s metal bands like Steeler and Alcatraz. In August 1993, then 30-year-old Malmsteen was arrested in Miami Shores, Florida, and charged with assault. Police arrived after receiving a call from Elaine Potter, who alleged that her 19-year-old daughter and Malmsteen's girlfriend, Amber Landon, was being held in the guitarist's home without her consent. When Potter tried to get Landon off the premises and return to the family home in Arizona, Malmsteen allegedly turned frighteningly aggressive and violent. Potter said, "He took out a shotgun and he took out a handgun. He said, 'If you think you are taking her anywhere, you are not going, or you are going to find out how this gun works.'" After an hour-long standoff with police, Landon exited the home, followed by Malmsteen. The musician was booked and charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. According to Guitar Site, the charges were eventually dropped, and Malmsteen and Landon married. One of the loudest, heaviest, most unpretentious, straightforward rock and roll bands of all time, AC/DC emerged from Australia in the 1970s to become worldwide sensations in the 1980s, selling more than 50 million copies of its 1980 album, Back in Black. It's chock full of headbanging standards like the title track, Hell's Bells, and You Shook Me All Night Long. Providing the powerful rhythm for the majority of AC/DC's history was drummer Phil Rudd. According to Rolling Stone, Rudd drummed for AC/DC during its late 1970s and early 1980s heyday, sitting behind the kit from 1975 to 1983 and from 1994 until 2015, when his extensive legal issues precluded him from participating in band activities. In November 2014, police raided Rudd's home in Tauranga, New Zealand, and arrested the drummer for attempting to order the murders of 2 men. According to Rolling Stone, that charge was dropped the following day, but Rudd still faced charges of possession of marijuana and methamphetamine. A judge ultimately sentenced Rudd to 8 months of house arrest and a 24-hour-a-day surveillance to be served at his home in New Zealand. A style and musical icon in the mid-1980s, Boy George sang anguished, sophisticated songs of love and heartbreak as the frontman for the British group Culture Club. He was as well known for his traditional gender role-defying style of dress as he was for his many hits, which included Karma Chameleon, Do You Really Want to Hurt Me, and It's a Miracle. According to The Guardian, Boy George brought model and escort Auden Carlson to his London apartment in April 2007. After inviting Carlson into his bedroom to ingest cocaine and pose for a nude photo shoot, Boy George left to go buy cigarettes, and upon his return, grew incensed when he became convinced that Carlson had accessed his computer. Carlson would later testify in court that Boy George then said, quote, "Now you're going to get what you deserve," and handcuffed the escort to his wall and beat him with chains and leather straps. Carlson managed to break free and attempted to flee, and as he ran out, Boy George beat him with a piece of metal. In a 2009 court proceeding, Judge David Radford ruled that Boy George's actions were premeditated, callous, and humiliating, and left Carlson shocked, degraded, and traumatized. The singer was sentenced to 15 months behind bars for false imprisonment. Great White hit it big in the late 1980s, in the tail end of the hair metal era. Fronted by lead singer Jack Russell, Great White found a big audience for its bluesy glam metal sound and scored major hits like The Angel Song and Once Bitten, Twice Shy. In 2003, Great White played The Station, a small club in West Warwick, Rhode Island. According to CNN, their tour manager opened the show with some unauthorized pyrotechnics at the back of the stage. That started a fire, and Russell and his bandmates escaped to safety via a fire door by the stage, which a bouncer prevented any of the 400-plus fans in attendance from using, leaving them to rush for the 4 posted exits, 2 of which had been barricaded. The bottleneck of panicked people led to a large crowd trapped as the fire quickly engulfed the building. Liquor bottles exploded, beams cracked, and the ceiling collapsed.
I see the horror, and it was ugly. The roof was caving in, walls were caving in, body after body in front of me.
When it was all over, 100 people died at the station that night. No one in Great White faced criminal charges over the tragedy, but they did face a lawsuit from survivors and the families of those who died. Great White agreed to pay out $1 million, according to the Associated Press. As part of the settlement, they didn't have to publicly admit wrongdoing. Rick Springfield made a name for himself as a pop rocker in the early 1970s with hits like Speak to the Sky, only to resurface a decade later with some of the most definitive rock radio songs of the 1980s, like Don't Talk to Strangers, Human Touch, and Jesse's Girl. Springfield spilled all in his 2010 memoir, Late, Late at Night, including details of his mid-1970s relationship with actor Linda Blair. At the time, Blair was a rising star, Oscar-nominated for her role as a demonically possessed child in The Exorcist.
I'm Damien Karras.
And I'm the devil. Now kindly undo these straps.
When she began dating Springfield, she was 15, and he was 25, a setup that constitutes statutory rape. Springfield wrote, "I am her first lover, and she is an enthusiastic learner. We're actually really shocked by the incensed articles in both teen and regular press about our affair." The singer would later meet Barbara Porter when she was 15. Springfield told People he rejected her because she was, quote, too young. But after she turned 18 in 1981, they started dating. Springfield married Porter in 1984. In 2000, according to ABC News, police in Malibu, California responded to an emergency call at the couple's home and arrested the rock star on spousal abuse charges. If you or anyone you know is struggling with addiction issues, help is available. Visit the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration website or contact SAMHSA's National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP, 1-800-662-4357.